Okay, there's a reason I got rid of this intro. When I came up with it, I thought it was so original and so smart, and then I remembered Ask That Guy with the Glasses also had a similar intro. And knowing this is the internet and people will call you a ripoff or anything, I decided to use a more generic intro later. Plus, this was an old book, and I heard the spine cracking during the filming of an episode, so I decided to film some stock footage and reuse it for the Dinosaur Profiles intro. Before doing this, I actually made some tests with Windows Movie Maker. I experimented with a Romance of the Three Kingdoms radio drama. It was a good experiment because that taught me how to use Windows Movie Maker. Before then, I have never made a video before in my life. I'm sure the experiment is still buried somewhere on YouTube because I forgot the account name and the login, so it's definitely out there somewhere. So if you guys stumble onto some Romance of the Three Kingdoms narration with my voice in it, that was me uploading test footage. The biggest inspiration for doing this was That Guy with the Glasses, but also the forums where the fans submit their own videos. I looked around and everything just looked really similar. It's like there's a review for every niche under the sun. But don't get me wrong, there are a lot of talented people there and they make some excellent content. It's just that I wanted something that stand out from the crowd. Coming up with an idea was the easy part, it's the execution that's hard. I mean, with a show name like Dinosaur News Center, you'd expect some pretty interesting visuals, but at the end of the day, I settled for still pictures, because hey, we're also going to get animated dinosaurs. CGI's not going to be cheap, and I have no idea how to make CGI dinosaurs. Oh, one of the reasons why the shots are so constrained is because I didn't have a place to film in. That's my laundry room you're seeing, and to the left of the couch was the big ugly hallway, and to the right is just a big messy table. So yeah, this is definitely not one of the most visually interesting show. I think this show thrives on its subject matter. I decided to make sure the sound came through loud and clear because what I say is more important. The first few episodes were filmed with a camera. The camera could only film for about 5 minutes and the microphone was lousy. What I did was film the footage with a camera and also recorded the sound on a separate microphone connected to my computer. When I edited, I threw out the original sound and used a clean recording from my computer. The way I matched the sound up with my voice is simple. I clap my hands before I speak. When I edit, I don't need to do any lip reading. I can tell the first loud noise was my hand clap. I move around the sound file until the audio and video were perfectly in sync. And voila, good sound quality from a camera. I bought a camcorder later, but it was a cheap one and the sound still wasn't as good, so I continued to use this technique. I'm proud of what I was able to achieve, but I recommend getting a better microphone to avoid the extra work when you edit. If you look back at my first few episodes, you'd notice that each episode did things differently. Only episode 1 and 4 were straight up news episodes. I did this on purpose to show that Dinosaur News Center was very flexible. It's impossible to know what the audience likes, but having different formats keeps things fresh for me and the viewers. I think it would be very boring if people knew exactly what to expect every episode. For a very brief time, like 5 seconds, I considered making Dinosaur News Center similar to Beakman's World. To those that don't know, Beakman's World was a comedy science show. It came out a year before Bill Nye the Science Guy. And I've always been a bigger fan of Beakman's World. Like I said, the thought crossed my mind for all 5 seconds because I knew I didn't have the skills, talent, or the know-how to make something like Beakman's World. Beakman's World was what inspired me to have different segments in the show. By the way, I think the Epic Rap Battles guys really missed out on having Beakman go up against Bill Nye. Going up against Isaac Newton is just unfair. Yeah, and I still don't know what's going on in that picture. That Dinosaur drawing was done by me. I stopped providing my own art because it took too long and pencil drawings don't come out good in low resolution. I can't put too much detail into it because when it's shown as a 640x480 image, all the details get smushed together into a mess. I also don't know how to ink or Photoshop to fix it. I'm still lacking in a lot of areas to make this show perfect. One of the things I wanted to do but completely forgot about was adding the year and date of when the episode was made. I wanted to do that the same reason I talked about Dinosaur in the first episode. Our knowledge of dinosaurs is constantly changing, but once I say something, it's stuck like that forever. I wanted to give a year and a date in case people see my older episodes years later and point out that some facts are outdated. It saves me the time and effort of having to tell them this one was done years ago if I had the year and date on. I know, people could probably just look at the date of when the video was uploaded, but there are plenty of others that don't. That's also part of the reason why I just number my episodes. When people see that this is episode 1 and compare it to say episode 100, They know episode 100 has to be newer and episode 1 was older. There's nothing wrong with making mistakes, but I want to separate factual mistakes from technical mistakes that I make. I've been pretty careful with the kind of news I report, and I do a lot of research into the stories to avoid errors. I also pick news I report based on how much content it could provide. For example, there was a recent discovery of a complete hadrosaur tail. I wouldn't bother reporting it simply because the story can be summed up in one sentence. It's an amazing discovery, but there isn't much to say about it. This is also why I avoid reporting on scrappy remains of new discoveries whenever I can. But hey, a new discovery is a new discovery. For the Q&A segments, I cheated with the first episode. I knew I was doing this, so I went to a forum I visited and asked people ahead of time to submit questions for the first episode. So yeah, all the questions are real, it's just that I had them planned out ahead of time. I had plenty of leftover questions to fill the first few episodes. Some of the people tried to ask troll questions, and I specifically picked some of them as a big screw you to those people. They think I wouldn't use them. Well, the joke's on you. That's part of the reason why the Q&A segments tend to get a little weird in this show. The other reason I ran with the silliness was because I discovered Ask Dinosaur George shortly after I uploaded episode 1. It felt redundant to have another guy answering questions. I thought about getting rid of the Q&A segments after that, but for whatever reason I just kept going and I saved up some of the sillier questions to answer. Eventually I just decided to keep it and let the segment go crazy. This is one of the technical mistakes I made. I wanted to post a velociraptor because they were existing dinosaurs that had feathers discovered later on. When I was googling for dinosaur pictures, I found that Psittacosaur picture and it looked really nice, so I decided to use that instead. While it's true that this changed the way an existing dinosaur looked, those are quills on the Psittacosaur and not feathers. At least they're quills for now. Maybe those quills were actually leftover structures that form feathers, but I could have used a much better example like a velociraptor. And yeah, I've always been wondering what the heck is up with the T-Rex skeleton in the Fatal Fury stage. This was quite a trip down memory lane. I still can't believe I pulled this off considering all the challenges I had to face. I don't think making the show has gotten any easier. I'm always trying to learn new tricks and ways to improve the show, even if it's something as simple as sound or image quality. I have one more commentary coming up, and this is a big one. It's the face-off between the three big predators. Stay tuned.